Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 324, and my next guest is a mom of five. And honestly, if you look at all the things that she does, she's the glue that holds the digital world together. So I want to bring on Sarah Jenkins, and thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. How am I supposed to follow that opening? Good night. I'll try.
No, but I think there's a lot of people out there that may not know who you are, but they've used your products. You know, they
You're
they
probably right.
they
I've
they,
been on
they
a couple times. I was out on a boat with some a client of mine and a couple affiliates, and then all of a sudden the rest of the people were like, "Oh my word, you're Sarah Jenkins!" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "We have Webinar Jam. We have Webinar Jam." I'm like, "You do? You do?" I'm gonna need some testimonials just real quick.
Yeah, and Kartra too, and you know, the digital world I think wouldn't be the same without those products.
We did the one podcast I did not that long ago. I was talking to one of my clients on Facebook, sent me a message and said it changed my life. I would have been working the 20 bucks an hour. But now I've created this whole product with John Osteroff, with Deepak Chopra, the whole thing on Kartra. And I was like, oh my word, that's so awesome. When I hear a story about someone that actually used a product and it did something good for them, that's the purpose. That's what it's for.
Yeah, but the thing is that, and we talked about this off air. You're kind of, and not to make this mean or anything, but I think you have a touch of ADHD.
Ah, that's not mean. I go all over the map. I mean, are you taking notes? Are we going to psychoanalyze? And you're probably right on.
Yeah, I know. I never take notes, but I'm sure the listeners are going, "What did he bring on?"
I
No, but
know. Good luck.
I'm a father of six, and I know that I couldn't do this without my partner. We've been married for 30, well, it'll be 36 years in February.
Congratulations.
Long time. And she's what drives me to do all what I do. But you got five kids, and I go on these posts, and you're playing video games, you're doing this, and I'm like, how do you do it? You're like Superwoman. Or
That might be that ADHD thing you
yeah.
talked about. Because I have to keep what I said in my video doing the Disney Dreamlight game, which is not embarrassing at all. It's super adult of me. Is because my brain has to keep going all the time. So if it's not going to be on the business, you'll get tired of thinking about your company constantly. So
Mhm.
you got to put it somewhere else. If my kids are sleeping, I mean, you got to do something.
Yeah. Well, that's how I am with books. I mean, I'll go to sleep at 1 in the morning, and for some odd reason, an idea will pop in my brain at 3 o'clock. I'm back up, back at the keyboard, writing more stuff. And
Taking more notes.
people are like, "Do you ever sleep?" I said, "Yeah, 2 hours, 3 hours a day. I don't need any more." And they're like, "You're gonna die." I'm like, "Eventually, but I
Comes and
got
goes.
I got books to write."
Well, as a mom with 5 kids, I have been up doing the nursing thing every hour and a half, 2 hours for every newborn. I'm like, "You sleep is, required later."
So, how did you get involved with the digital world? Because, it's you don't see a lot of people that they may own one or two companies, but you have multiple companies.
Well, I was raised in a really strict, ultra, Christian, different little sect called IBLP. Bill Gothard started it, and my grandpa was part of that back in the day when my dad was a teenager. So I was raised very strict with a lot of rules, and I reasoned with them like, why is this the rule? Where does this go? So I was always thinking and questioning most of like how I was raised. And then my parents went to Amway, and I was around multi-millionaires all the time. My dad volunteered to work the sound backstage, and we were always invited to come and see our dad. So we'd run backstage, and whatever my mom said was professional dress, little shoes, and whatever. And we'd go give daddy a hug. And it was like we're surrounded by all this all the time. And I thought to myself, like these people, we went to Denny's 2 in the morning and they talked to my parents about business and they're all going back and forth. And I just listened. I was like, man, if they can do it, I can do it. And so none of these things seems that hard. Like if you're looking at a puzzle or a game, you're trying to get to the end, or you're trying to beat it. Um, but with this experience growing up challenged a lot of my own thought processes, and I always thought about challenging them more and more and more to learn how they got here, why they did what they did. And I love that you do a whole bunch of books. That's amazing because I was homeschooled too, which let's keep making it interesting. And I read every book in my parents' house because we were in Amway. We had, you know, Think and Grow Rich. We had How to Win Friends, Influence People. We had Robert Kiyosaki stuff before he
Hmm.
got, you know,
Weird.
yeah, negatively positioned in the media for some reason, but it's okay. And that's I don't know, that's how I
Mhm.
started. And then I was 15 and my mom was probably frustrated with me. I didn't get off the couch. She's like, go run, go outside, whatever. I was like, okay, teenager laziness. And then she was like, what do you even want to do? I was like, I want to own my own company. She was like, really? Oh, okay. And so she got me a job at a little boutique called the Clothing Cove. And this lady, Janice Corsley from church, who owns it, would bring me over Wednesday mornings for Bible study, and then we go to work. And then she's like, "Wow, you're actually a really good salesman. Like we can hire you after interning." And I was like, "Cool." So I liked the sales part, but it wasn't about making that sale. It was actually finding this blind woman. She came in for a bracelet for 4th of July, and then I ended up saying, "If you have this bracelet, I have this incredible sweater pant set that matches perfectly. A red sweater, white pants, blue little tank top." And she was blind, so I had to explain fabrics and colors, and I sold from a bracelet an outfit. And so
Wow.
she's like, "That's a great sales technique." I was like, "No, actually, I was making her happy too." Like I picked out something I know she'd look good in, and she doesn't know how she looks, but she looks adorable now. So it's actually coming from not only the sales of what I brought to my boss Janice, who I love. I was also making that woman happy and doing something good and positive with that sale.
And it brings up a subject that I think is a little bit frustrating for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to funnels, pop-ups.
Oh yeah.
You created a friendly way of helping somebody, especially a blind woman, understand fabrics and combinations. The problem is that we don't, as entrepreneurs, know how to do that in the digital world. So we'll say, well, you bought this product. How about this one too? But you don't tell them why this product is related in any way to this one. You just hope that they buy the extra.
The
And
add-on.
right, the add-on or the upsell or whatever you want to call it. And I think if you took that position where everybody's blind and you have to walk them through the way of this is why you need this extra thing. This is how it's going to complement you. This is how it's going to help you with your sales. I think more entrepreneurs would get more upsells.
That's an excellent point. I'm actually really glad you said that. I know you don't take notes obviously at all, but I do. Um, I did not think of it that way. When you look at what you have to explain to a blind woman about the fabrics, colors, that there's no pilling, no rips, no tears, seam is perfectly aligned, all the stuff she needs to hear to visualize it in her mind. That's exactly what you should do when you're selling something.
Yeah.
Even if they do your coaching program and they're like, "Oh, I haven't gotten very far," go back, record your sessions and quote yourself. Remember when I said this? What
Mhm.
happened with that you said you agreed with that you haven't taken action yet? How can I help you push forward? Like, just the more you drill it down, the more time you have to solidify those little movements is huge if you can do it on the digital space for a mass amount
Yeah. I
of
mean,
people.
if you can treat everyone, and I'm not saying treat them as if they have a disability, because blind people will see things that you aren't comprehending just because they use their other senses. But I do think that we as marketers need to do a little bit better in selling our products.
Those little tweaks make you so many more sales and they help so many more people. It's
Right.
really important to get those things down.
Yeah. And I think the reason I look at things a little differently, and we talked about this off air, is because my new book, which it's actually launching right now, and it's called Legacy. It's building a life and business that basically outlasts you. What are you going to leave behind to the next generation? Your grandkids. And people are like, wow, I'm not going to leave them money because they don't deserve it. No, but they do need and deserve your knowledge. How did you get here as an entrepreneur? What are you going to leave behind for the next generation so they can kind of skip some of those steps and learn better? But I think we as entrepreneurs, just everything to us is transactional. We're not thinking long term. We're not thinking, oh my God, it's the long game. No, we're just thinking about the next sale.
Well, you're making excellent points because look at anyone that you go back and I just quoted. Like, I was growing up reading these books, and I know the cover of the book. I know what it's titled. I know the author, and I remember pieces of it that helped me change my perspective.
Hmm.
So those books are incredibly important. That you write a ton is super special.
A lot of them. I have a whole series called Rob Versus. They're my sarcastic take on scammers, lousy customer service, and basically each page is another adventure dealing with um, people in my sarcastic way.
That's
And
awesome.
and in I think it was 2019 when Rob versus the Scammers came out. All I was doing was sharing these adventures out on Facebook, and people were like, "Rob, put it together, make a book." So I did.
Oh, do you do like a chicken soup for the soul, like
And
this
and
then?
and they'd call you. I mean, just yesterday. No, yes, not yesterday. Just on Friday, Good Friday, I had 71 scam likely calls. Imagine if I would have taken the time to answer all those, I'd probably have 4 more books.
Or more, because they can go on and on. It's kind of fun.
But, I have 2 more coming out, books 9 and 10, probably in 2025. I had to wrap up a other bunch of other books for clients that took priority, but here's the thing is that people know me as Mr. Sarcasm, and I've played that part on the internet for many, many years. When I had the carpet cleaning business, a lot of my clients were, I can't say younger women, but most of them were, and they didn't trust me. They didn't know me. They saw my ads and they said, "Okay, let's give them a try." And a lot of them didn't understand sarcasm. So I stayed quiet.
I think
You
you're
know?
being mean.
Right. But they started to know me, like me, trust me, and feel safe with me. And I had that business for 19 years. And you know, I overlapped that business with my current marketing business. But it was when
Now, is
I
that the one you take if you have that speciality of making those women actually do feel safe with you and trust you, is that something that you'd put in the books that your sons could learn faster than with experience and letting people shut him down over and over and over again?
well, it's just not my sons, it's my daughters too. My oldest daughter works in a nursing home, and
Oh, congratulations.
so
That's awesome.
she deals with a lot of elderly that are now starting to lose their capacity to free think. I mean, their dementia is really starting to affect them. So, it turns out that my daughter, because of the lessons that I've taught her, she's become one of the most requested, you know, helpers there because she can relate to them better. She takes the time to understand their stories. And I think if you understood their stories, you're going to be a little bit more gentler to them.
Less sarcastic, maybe?
Well, she's still sarcastic. She's probably more
She is
sarcastic
yours.
than you. Yeah. But here's the problem: is there's a lot of her helpers, a lot of other nurses, a lot of people that work in there that treat it as a job, and they're very disrespectful because they're just there for the paycheck.
I
And
can't
so,
I can't with that. I was at a couple of my well, all of them. I was there at the hospital, that day they died or the day right before or during. So I've been at my grandparents' sides and I knew how to take care of them by watching the nurses and asking the nurses. And I've had a couple other family members in different like crashes and stuff and needed constant care in the ICU, like chapstick, turn them over, uncover the feet, cover the feet, hot cloth on the forehead, cold cloth on the forehead. Like I knew how to do all those little care things, and I did see the nurses that didn't give it more than flip the pillows, go to the next patient, right? So you want that special touch. If you gave that speciality and treatment to your daughter in the way that she's going to treat the elderly, that's huge. I really hope you told her she should write a book for her kids too.
well, it's on her list. If I, she is our she's our double miracle child. When she
Well,
was
how'd
10,
go?
she was diagnosed with diabetes, and so she had diabetes for 20 years, and she got pregnant because the doctor said, "Get pregnant, and that'll help things." Well, it didn't. It made things worse.
Oh,
The baby was born 3 months too early, lived 14 days.
oh,
And in that time, and this is we believe that the baby saved my daughter's life by prematurely being born. It was starting to affect her kidneys,
uh,
and her kidneys started shutting down. So, after the baby died, my daughter was on dialysis for many years,
how hard for you.
couple times a day. I mean, couple times a week she'd get dialysis. And I guess it was 3 years ago, she got a double organ, a new pancreas, and a new kidney. And now she no longer needs dialysis, and she's no longer diabetic.
Dude, that's great.
And after this happened, she went back to work, and she's been in the nursing field now for years. She loves it. She gets to give back. Um, but yeah, for almost 20 years she was a prisoner of this disease.
Insane. You never know why God does what he does, and I can't question it. It's not our place to question it. Yeah, I've that's an incredible experience, and there's maybe that is why, and that she'll meet that baby in heaven.
Yeah, it was sad going through all this, but we knew that she
Well,
she would be cured one day, but it just we didn't realize it would take 20 some years.
sure. If I have any thoughts about it at all, which is none of my business to have, but if even if she did do the book about her experiences in that nursing home, just little stories, sort of like Christian Soup for the Soul, and it was
Mhm,
in a very relatable way. Anyone and many, many of us have a relative or a parent or a grandparent that has dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's just so tough. And there's not that many books out there that explain it very well, and it doesn't explain it empathetically. Like you
mhm,
have to understand what that person is going through whose parent has that, right?
right,
So I would actually encourage her to do a book on those things. Just like when my husband passed away, I read a book called Option B, and it was sort of a little sarcastically written,
mhm,
and it's a little professionally written. I'm a little more raw, but when I read it, some of the things she said were so helpful to me. It's like, oh, I felt that same way. I just went through that.
mhm,
So it's I don't know. I like when someone has an experience that is almost unparalleled but relatable to write about and
yeah,
read about.
yeah. So is that why you keep yourself busy?
Oh, to not have to manage any of my emotional expectations? Um, a little bit, but I've always kept myself busy. They say with someone with, no skills or lots of skills, it's jack of all trades, master of none. So we were in a group and we were starting to like little table rounds at an internet marketing meeting, and they're like, say something interesting about yourself. And like, oh, I have this business. So, oh, I have this new car, whatever. And I was like, I can't juggle. Like, what?
And the funny thing is that a lot of my clients are lawyers and doctors with walls of degrees. I
Sure.
don't I don't even have I don't even have a degree. I
I don't
went
have a
to
degree.
col I went to college for 1 semester at Penn State. Didn't like it. Then
You got
went
into
back.
Penn State?
I did.
That's awesome.
And then yeah, but I was taking electrical engineering at the
Whoa.
time, and my one electrical engineering teacher, his full-time job was working at Radio Shack, and so I knew more about it than he did, and I got very bored very quickly and dropped out. And then
Yeah.
I went back to a community college about a year later for writing, and I
What a
got hired.
switch.
Huh?
What a switch.
Yeah, it just that guy just turned me off to electrical engineering, and I saw the writing, writing on the wall that that was not the career I wanted. Um, and maybe I saw it very early in my life because I knew that someday I wanted to be a writer. I just didn't know how. And but I was discouraged by the community college because they're like, "Well, you can't write like that." What do you mean I can't write like that? And I'd bring in books with examples of, yeah, but he's a professional. What the hell does that have to do with anything? he's a professional making money, writing the way I like, and you're telling me I can't write like that.
You're saying that story to me? I'm a woman in SaaS. I am in a room of 18 men and me every single time. It's a bank meeting, it's a investor meeting, it's, any meeting at all. It's 8 men, 5 men, and me, always, just me by myself. The only girl in this industry that I can find, like, that I run into. I hope I meet more soon. But yeah, I've actually fired a lawyer because he told me a couple times in my own company that I should find a CEO to hire because I'm inexperienced. And I was like, wait, wait, wait. I was like, you use that phrase with me one more time, we're never speaking again. And yeah, when he says, well, you can't do that, I go, I can. There may be jail time attached, but I can. Your
Mhm.
other The other thing you should say to me is, you shouldn't, and here's why.
And now I own a publishing company, and we've published and produced 50 books in the last 11 years. So,
It's amazing when someone says you can't. You
right.
can't do that, or you're not allowed, or that's not normal. You don't have the experience. You don't have the education. Homeschooled, did 1 year of college, and the college and I mutually agreed that I shouldn't attend anymore. When you tell someone they can't, especially, I'm sorry, but you were in engineering, that means you are wicked smart. And so you switched it to writing, which was even smarter, not just because of things that other electrical engineers can handle, but your book writing skills, that you put that intellect into those specific skills, means your books will be that much better, that leveled up better because you thought about them over and over and
When
over
I was
again.
in high school, I was going to go into the Navy, and I was going to go into a nuclear program. And I scored a very high score on the ASVAB, and then I took the nuke test and scored very high on that. And they're like, Rob, yeah, we want you. And they're already saying, hey, we're going to give you this sign-on bonus. We're going to do this. Um, then I took the color test, where you try to detect these numbers out of these
Oh
dots.
yeah.
Failed
You
that
can't.
miserably.
No. There goes
Oh,
that color.
Rob, you're colorblind. You can't join.
Oh man, that is so, they've got to find another line of work for you, even if you're
The
colorblind in that department.
funny thing was is that I owned this carpet cleaning business, and part of our services we did color dyeing,
I
and
was
so
gonna say, how did you clean a carpet when you can't see the
and
colors?
and and I would make these carpets. I would recolor these carpets, and certain even like Oriental rugs lose their color, and the customers never never could tell.
Oh my word, that is so funny.
So it's over the years you overcome a lot of things, you know.
Yes, you do.
But that's always been my drive too. When someone says I can't, I prove them wrong.
Yeah, you can't tell me you can't
And
twice.
and it's funny because you're playing this Disney game, and I've told my audience many times over the years that I go to Disney World at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, because when I go there, it makes me feel like I'm a kid again. And it's funny because over the summer I took 15 people, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, my nieces, and so we had 15 people we took to Disney, and people were like, "Why is Grandpa me way up there?"
He's
I
beating
was,
all of us to the next
I
ride.
was, I had more energy than all of them put together. I learned so much when I go there. I discover new things that I can implement in my marketing. And if you're a proponent of consumer behavior, Disney World is
Oh
the
yeah.
biggest place where you can see firsthand how people react to things.
Dude, and he comes down to the littlest detail. Like, talk about overthinking. If you go to Disney, there's the hidden Easter eggs. There's a little tiny, like, Mickey head in the little doorknob screws and stuff like that. Like, he surrounds you with
Mhm.
that Disney element. And that's exactly what do you think you learn from? It's, if you have parents that train you and teach you things, if you have movies you've watched that have impacted you somehow to make decisions or change the way you think about something, or it's relationships or books. The only thing that you're going to remember years and years and years later is an experience that changed you, a book that you've read,
Mhm.
or maybe a movie that you watched. I think movies are way less inspirational than books. I mean, I can't even get through the Tolkien; they're
Uh,
so descriptive.
I've a lot of people have read my books. They've taken pictures of my books. They've sent me pictures with their books. only two examples that really highlight how my books were used, um, that I think it brought tears to my eyes, and they were
Aw,
both my Rob versus book. One, a customer sent me a picture of their son reading my book. He's only like 8 years old, you know? And then another was their son made a book report of my book, which was called Rob versus the Entitled, all
that's
about
cool.
all about wokeness and cancel culture and all the crap we had to go through during COVID. And they did a book report on it and they got an A. You know, that to me is you're teaching the next generation.
He read
Yes,
it and paid attention.
yeah, it's nice that people of my age are reading my books. Great, but the kids, the kids reading it, the kids making reports of it. To me, that's paramount.
Oh, yeah, like, of course, when I said my husband, passed away, I read a couple books that were right on to what I was thinking or feeling, in that moment, you laugh and cry, whatever. But those books I remember now, and then my neighbor, she called me and she said that her daughter-in-law had to move in because her son just passed away. And so I was like, "Shoot." And she's a 1-year-old baby girl. So she and I became best friends. I was like, "I'm coming over. We're going to talk about this, whether she likes it or not, and she can cry at me all she wants." And I gave her the same books that I read. It's like, even if you don't think, for your daughter that doesn't have the kids, if you're gonna write something, you're gonna put something down that you've learned that's, um, I mean, it sounds very emotional, but
Hmm.
we all make decisions based on our emotions.
Yeah.
And so when I talked to her about some of these books and gave them to her, she gave them back to me. She goes, "You have to keep giving these out. These are awesome. These are perfect for what we're going through at this moment." And that's why the daughter in the nursing home will
Hmm.
have those patients read her book and be like, "This was so helpful and life changing." Gave me that correct perspective or emotions to have in the situation I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I saw you on another podcast, and you know,
Thanks.
I think you do a lot of podcasts though, and then you have your own podcast, right?
I do. I do. I like it because, like I said, sorry, offline. The only reason I got into, I'm in the middle of writing a book because I want it to be impactful, to other women in business, because I know it's popular now, but when I got into business and started the work from home in 2014, it was unheard of.
Mhm.
When we started doing Webinar Jam, there was no video on the internet except maybe YouTube. But that was Google Hangouts was the only video you could do, or a Skype like call, or GoToMeeting was the most expensive meeting. So we invented Webinar Jam and made it for our clients that were like, video on the internet is the most powerful way to make sales and reach your clientele, and do the training or the modules in your consulting program. Like, we used to get DVDs or
Mhm.
VHSs of the internet marketing stuff we learned back in the day. So I've been learning it since, I was little. I've been learning marketing and and success, and how easy it actually is if you put your heart into it and you do it, you know, as much as the right way as you can. But it's just crazy how far we've come. I mean,
Yeah, I have shelves and shelves and shelves of courses and packages and whatnot on cassettes, on CDs, on and I can't even tell you the last time I even used a CD.
our computers don't have them anymore, but I have a bunch of CDs. I have to use a adapter to put the CD in the stupid computer to watch it or listen to it again. I'm gonna have to transcribe.
That is funny. That is funny. So how do people get a hold of you? Where do they go?
Oh man, I am so hard to get a hold of on purpose.
Oh,
I
and you
made
know what? There was like 100 Sarah Jenkins on LinkedIn. I'm like, nope, nope, no.
well, and this is my third name, so it doesn't help me either. but but no, I married
Oh, you
Andy
get tired of
Jenkins in
names too, huh?
2012. I do. I just get bored, so off we go. When I married Andy Jenkins, he was the video boss and the ultimate internet guru with all the Franks and the Joes and all of their, my friends now. But I didn't want to be anybody. I wanted to support him completely and let him be the face and the front of the whole company. And even when he got sick, I just did not let him drop the CEO, even though I was running the company. I did not let him drop any position in public because I wanted to sustain his pride through the very, very last day.
Mhm.
So it didn't help my career. Nobody does know who I am, and that's fine. I really don't mind. It was to preserve his pride, and he needed that, and I'm happy that he got that.
Well, you're being a very instrumental person when it comes to your kids, your businesses, and I think that there's a lot of respect there. Well,
You
maybe.
know, mostly unless people tell me I'm inexperienced, I'm just a girl, blah blah blah. That's fun, but that's why I started. That's why I started the book and some speaking and podcasts, because if I have anything valuable at all to say, because have a hard time finding it from women in software and women in business at my level. I want other women to be inspired, or at least say, hey, there is actually hope. Like, you're a mom, you're stay at home, you've got all these kids. Yes, you can do it. You can actually have it all.
Mhm.
There's no mystery about it either. It's hard work and learning what you can and implementing. Yes, I have the ADD brain, so my brain goes all over the map. But I fill books with notes like you did. Like, I
Mhm.
fill them like pages and pages, and I go back and I remember what I wrote. So then that's my new book for
And
ideas
and
and
I
for.
and people will say to me, "Well, Rob, I think you're a little ADD," and I said, "Yeah, I am, but I've learned to hyper focus. So I come in, I work 2 3 hours, get shit done. I go out and do whatever I want to do, and I come back and more hyper focus. I mean, you come into my office, I got music blaring from the '80s. I got distractions all over the place. That keeps me focused. I cannot
Yeah,
work in a room that's so quiet.
sterile environment doesn't work.
No. Mm-mm.
No, it doesn't for me either. I guess when you do the work from home thing, back in 2014, I was like, I shut down the office. I was like, everyone go home. We can all meet on Skype. We can all meet on Zoom, and we can meet, in person once every other month or something. We don't need to be in the same room as each other because we're distracting each other. We're taking lunch breaks with each other, and it lasts too long. It's a liability having everybody in this office and insurance and all that stuff. So I cut it off. But there are some people that do need that sterile focused area with no distractions to get things done, and so they're not the work at home
Right.
type. And there are those too. So
Right.
those are the people that when we hire them, we end up saying, "Hey, this is obviously not working for you. You seem unhappy. Off you go."
Yeah, when I had the cleaning business, I had an office. I would go there all the time, and it was just like, I can't take this. And then, in 2001, when I started this agency, yeah, there was some overlap. So I would end up doing a lot of my business over there. And I'm like working the marketing, doing the carpet clean, doing this, I'm like, ah. And it was at that time I said, you know what? I got to give myself so many more years. I'm going to sell this business. I'm going to pump up the marketing. And it didn't really happen until 2013 when my first book came out. And it was called Share, and it was all about social media. It was the easiest social media book you'll ever read. And when I shopped that around, all these companies wanted to be these thick technical books on social media, and I'm like, but it's not. I want to keep it simple.
It's human
And
behavior.
right, and so when you read the book, you're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I can do that. That's pretty easy. And I just gave them 27 different ways to boost it, their social media experience, attract followers. And it was at that point when I said I'm going to do this on my own. I started my publishing company, and every single book that I've put out since then has been under 200 pages. And the reason why is because when someone picks up a book like this was called Optimize This, was is from 2014, how two former carpet cleaners consistently beat web designers on the search engines. That one went number one bestseller in 4 countries, and it took us only 60 days to write.
Dude, the how-to and that specific niche is amazing. What a
Yeah,
great concept.
and so we're actually coming out with a sequel to that one after 10 years. So stuff in the book is still relevant, but a lot of things Google has changed, and now we have generative search, with all AI. So you got to account for that. But here's the thing: the reason I keep all the books under 200 pages is because I don't want them to be or feel intimidating. I want someone to be able to pick up the book, read it in about an hour or two, and be done.
Walk away with something to take home.
Yeah, keep it simple. And
That's
and
awesome.
so even when I produce books for lawyers and doctors and everyone else, I keep the pages under 200 because
Well,
it's
and if you if you look at it from not just the emotional component of writing a book and having it impact others, it's a sales technique as well. Whether it's your freemium, whether it's part of your exit pop, you get this free book, just give me your email, or free, pay for the shipping only, whatever you want to do. There's many ways to market your book
Right.
towards your product or towards even the next book or whatever.
And I always ask, take a picture with my book, and they're always sending me pictures, and one guy took my book all the way up to Mount Everest and took a picture. So my books have been around the world, so which
That's
is
crazy.
awesome.
How fun. I did William Hoff was a client of mine with one of my merchant account services back in the day. And he was the one that did the whole go out with your bare feet and top off with in the snow. I'm like, oh man, I can't, no matter how I breathe. I'll just die for sure. But he probably went with your book.
Yeah, this has been great, and I want the audience to understand that when someone tells you you can't, please prove them wrong.
Yeah, try me.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, because Sarah is a great example of that. You know, I'm not going to say I'm a great example, but I'm more rebellious anyway. So, I don't do what other people tell me to do.
I've been called that from time to time, probably by my parents when I was, grounded a lot when I was a teenager. Yeah, the whole don't tell me I can't. Want to bet? Like me and my little brother, he's my bigger brother now, but he's younger than me by a year, 14 months apart. We every time we wanted to do something naughty, it was always with each other. So we didn't do it alone, and then we competed on everything: who runs faster, who swims faster, who can hold their breath longer. Everything was a competition. And so it actually helped me learn failure because when he became bigger, I couldn't beat him at most things.
Mhm.
Um, Very humbling, but also keep trying. Like there's just that was so inspiring. So work with my little brother on like chess every day or how to put a puzzle together fastest every day. Like because we're homeschooled, we're together all the time and around success. So I think that challenging. And he's an entrepreneur now too. I think it's in your blood. Like some people have it, some people don't. Like
Right.
when you have those people that have something like inner dialogue, and some people don't have that. Some people are meant to write books, some people are meant to read them and get inspiration from them, and some people aren't. Like, so you're going to hit the audience that you're supposed to.
Yeah, I don't even read books anymore. I just write them.
Oh, well, so you've gone way above and beyond. Bet you can't read a book.
So, we have a few minutes left. Tell me about Genesis Digital. That's the home of Kartra and WebinarJam?
Genesis Digital was started as WebinarJam. When we did the video boss, we taught the the most important aspect of making sales, the most powerful way to make a sales with video. Even that became way back in the day when we started, 2013, right? Or even Video Boss, we did 8 hours of online video, and it cost 100,000 for the online video for 8 hours of Andy interviewing Joe and
Mhm.
Frank, and Eben didn't go, but we put him on T-shirts, wore his head on T-shirts anyway. But we paid for all that video hosting, and we're like, shoot, I'll bet we could do this better because every entrepreneur who sells something needs video. And we
Mhm.
invented Webinar Jam. And then we did Ever Webinar, which is Webinar Jam's pre recorded. So we had a client do a coaching program, and he's on his landing page. The exit pop was, hey, if you want to know more about this, my webinar starts in 6 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it was he put. And he had on every webinar his same recorded webinar every 15 minutes. So whatever time you joined, that was what you joined the recording, and it was, the sales page for his coaching or whatever. And it was incredibly brilliant. That's the perfect way to use every webinar. I should be using every webinar that way. From there, to sell Webinar Jam, you need a landing page, you need an email list, you need a funnel, you need a merchant account, you need a shopping cart. So we ended up, instead of going from one software to the other and having the API upgrade on one and then your whole thing breaks, we put it all in for you on the back end and created Kartra. And then so we have Webinar Jam and Webinar over here, Kartra over here. We're like, shoot, we should just have one parent company, mix the finances, save on costs. If we've got insurance for software, it should be all the softwares. If it's
Mhm.
one merchant account, we should have it available for the multiple products instead of two or three merchant accounts. So you get discounted rates when you do more volume. So we learned a lot, and now we have 150 employees all over the world,
Wow.
less than 50 in the U.S. And my work from home at 2014, I said, everyone go home. We're all working from home. It is still how we run our company. I have a film studio. I like to do podcasts in there, and I like to shoot some video for sales and marketing. But honestly, everyone at home, we're all on our computers. We're all on. It used to be Skype. Now it's Slack. I pay for that. So we can communicate every day with your staff, your lower staff, your upper staff, and that's incredibly efficient. Everyone gets to work from home. And I know COVID made it common, but it's becoming less and less common again. And I find it a perk. No gas money, no lunches you have to go buy, no time away from your family. Like I work from home. I've got the 5 kids, and they said, "Mommy, you work all the time." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm in the living room, or I'm always here. When they come home from school, I'm here. When they go to school, I'm here." It's really great to even have me in the background so they know if they need something, whether the nanny's helping them or not, mommy's still here for the encouragement, the hugs, and the discipline.
No.
Anyway, how to find me is probably Instagram, Miss Sarah Jenkins, and then I've got one of my emails is sarah@evenbossier.com. I have sarah@genesisdigital.com, but I actually don't do email. I've got a virtual assistant, and I highly recommend this because I cannot do email. My brain is now in the email inbox. That's not productive. It's not creative, and it's not making any money, right? So my virtual assistant will tell me, here's your 9 emails. Here's the gist of what they said. And I will tell her how to answer one. Now she knows how to answer most of them. And then she'll be like, do you want to take this podcast to answer yes or no? And she'll write the whole email. Thank you for asking. Here's it. Here's the time. So she'll make it all professional. It'll save me hours and hours a day. I recommend getting a virtual assistant for your email. And then my tasks. She knows when my kids' talent show is at school, and she put it on my calendar. So that calendar now is booked. No business. I'm going to the talent show. It's awesome. I recommend that.
You had mentioned
those are the only 2 ways to find me.
You had mentioned Skype, and my website went down the other day. And I don't know why it went down because none of my team tinkered with it. So I called the hosting company, and they're like, "Can you get on a Skype call?" I'm like, "Skype? I haven't used Skype in 10 years." No, I can't.
But you do have a login. You do. You just don't remember it. You have a login. It never left.
I don't know what it was. And in fact, I don't even have Skype on my Mac. I had it on my old PC. It's like, no. I said, I can WhatsApp. I can Zoom. And they're like, we don't have any of those.
I don't have Zoom. That's my competitor. But yeah, we do Skype because it was free, and it was the most encrypted service messenger back and forth, the most safe to use back in the day. So that's what we used. And then we graduated to Slack actually in the last couple of years. But I still have Skype, and the people that I work with every day I make them get a Skype, and they're on it. Their phones are on Skype, and it's my nannies have it, and all the fun can be had on Skype as well.
Making Skype great again.
Right. But probably not, but I try.
Well, this was fun. And everybody, please go visit Sarah. You can go to Digital Genesis. What is it? DigitalGenesis.com or
GenesisDigital.co.
Yeah.
And then my podcast, Paid to Create, just came out, and my Instagram page is there. And that's fun. Once in a while when you want to learn something. We just did one that was a service announcement for the new tax law coming into play by December 31st.
Yeah.
And I have the specifics of why it's important and why you need to pay attention to it.
To me, it's just another oversight.
Totally. I agree. But it is the law. So we have to make sure that people in companies obey it till somebody turns it over.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's intrusive. It's an oversight. It's unnecessary. And it's like, shit, I already give all this information to the IRS. Why do I have to give it all over to this other company?
So you're going to tell the government anyway. You have no privacy.
So maybe when Elon gets in there, he'll eliminate it because it's duplicate anyway. So we'll see.
Oh, that'd be so rad. There's no reason that the government should know where my home is for the companies that I run or own 25% or more of. It makes no sense.
No.
To arrest me? Well, you know where I am. The IRS knows too.
With that, we will say adios, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. See ya.
Thank you.